see if we can transport us all to some other world here on the program. JD here, Tuesday. Good to have you on board. 15 May. That'll be just about halfway through the month. Good to have you on board. We always appreciate when you take your time to spend it with us here on the program, where we like our flying a little turbulent, our women a little crazy, poquito, and our politics a little messy. Marcelo working at Doyle's, Brad producing the programs. Emails at the website, jerrydoyle.com, which is the same place we have the poll question up there for you today and most every day. An AP CNBC poll shows 46% believe the social networking giant Facebook is a passing fad. That said, if you could get your hands on shares of the IPO, that would be the initial public offering, would you be a buyer? 4% say yes, buy and hold for the long run. 29% say flip, buy the IPO, sell on the open. 29% say not even remotely interested. And 38%, I'd follow Congress's lead. They have the inside information.
But
you can answer it there at the website.
It's not true, and that's that.
Thank you, Nancy Pelosi. Thank you for stopping by and sharing your pearls of wisdom. I wonder if we can get a kind of a maybe a little breakdown of every member of Congress that just happened to have a couple of shares of the IPO of Facebook fall off the back of the truck, so to speak. I wonder if they're going to be able to get stock that the rest of us can't get after they pass that sweeping stock act, which is supposed to give us a level playing field so they can't get what we can't get. Alice's Restaurant. Even in Congress, you can get Alice because the song says you can get anything you want, except in Alice, Congress can get anything they want. I'm sure Mr. Zuckerberg is on speed dial with a lot of the esteemed members of Congress going, we wouldn't want to have to put in some regulation there about what it is your company's doing, and we'll figure out a way that you don't have to pay a whole lot of taxes. Can you get just a couple of hundred shares, just 500 shares? If you give me 500 shares, I'll be your best friend. You know that these political prostitutes are working the poll as hard as they possibly can to see what kind of money they can make off the Facebook IPO. Answers there at the website. Phone calls here at 800-876-4123. Big announcement today in the political world. Do you feel the rumblings? That's not just another budget deficit number coming out of California. A $16 billion Richter scale oopsie in the state of California. We know a lot of people are flipping from it. Here it is on the Drudge Report. A lovely picture of George Bush standing next to Mitt Romney. And the headline, "I'll take Mitt." Now, if you looked at the picture, you would think that George Bush stood there with Mitt Romney and made this just-breaking announcement that he is all for Mitt Romney. But I guess they cropped the picture because what wasn't in the actual endorsement by George Bush of Mitt Romney was the closing elevator doors, as an ABC reporter caught up with George Bush after Bush was giving a speech at the George W. Bush Presidential Center in his campaign for human rights activists around the world. And as the doors were closing, he said, I'm for Mitt Romney. That's kind of how the endorsement went down. Who are you buying? I'm with Mitt. Where's the press conference? Where's the Klieg lights? Where's the big? This is the former president of the United States, George W. Bush. There's only been 44 of them. He's one of them, 2 terms, probably the preeminent go-to Republican right now. You would think that George Bush would go, "Hey, Mitt, you want my endorsement?" "Yes, Mr. President." Do you think we should have a press conference?" "Yes, Mr. President." But he's not.
His mom's endorsement got more play.
Yeah, what was it, back in, March? Bush 41 and Barbara wearing her nicest pearls. They did a little sit-down, endorsed Mitt Romney. We love Mitt. As Barbara was a little snarky towards Sarah Palin. Did you remember that one? When they asked Barbara Bush what she thought of Sarah Palin? You got to love Barbara because she's like that kind of grandmother that just tells it to you the way it is. She doesn't pull any punches.
What do you read about Sarah Palin?
Well, I sat next to her once, thought she was beautiful, and I think she's very happy in Alaska, and I hope she'll stay there.
Larry King. Where's Alaska? Hello. I hope she stays in Alaska. Barbara Bush. I'll have another highball, please. Thank you, Larry. People in the Bush administration who worked with the president said they're kind of doubting that W is going to be campaigning for Mitt Romney this year. Even in his post-presidential life, they say, George Bush is still getting a lot of the blame for the bad economy. But his poll numbers have actually risen since he left office. People like George Bush more now that he's not the president than they did when he was the president. I think it's kind of like a divorce. Because, like, you know, when you get divorced and you got the attorneys that are spending $500 an hour to carve up your frequent flyer miles, you can kind of really learn to hate somebody. And then after a while you go, well, looking back on it, it wasn't so bad, was it? Yeah, it really was. But time heals all wounds, but not for George Bush getting the blame for the economy. This is what the Democrats are running with. This is the blame game that they're playing. And George Bush deserves the blame, as do the Republicans, for what they did. But just like in any relationship, there's your side of the story, there's her side of the story, and somewhere between the two sides lies the truth. And it's the same with the blame game that they're playing now in politics. The Republicans are blaming the Democrats for everything. The Democrats are blaming the Republicans for everything. And somewhere between the two of those blame games is where the truth lies. And the truth lies is we're not well represented by either political party. And again, back to the choice of having to choose between either of two, capitalism under Republicans or socialism under the Democrats. I'll choose capitalism every time. But we shouldn't have to be making the lesser of two evil kind of choices. We shouldn't have to say, well, you know, when compared to Obama, Mitt Romney's a big winner. We shouldn't have to be at that place. And we shouldn't have to have George W. Bush have doors closing on an elevator with his tacit endorsement of Mitt Romney. George Bush was the president of the United States. George Bush did a lot of good things when he was the president. He did a lot of stupid things under the guise of compassionate conservatism, like doubling the national debt, buying the electoral votes of Florida with $1 trillion Medicare D prescription drug bill that wasn't paid for, initiating TARP, going against his free market principles in order to preserve the free market. George Bush did a lot of stupid things to kowtow to the power structure and the special interest on Capitol Hill. But he also did a lot of good things in keeping the nation safe. He did a lot of good things in actually, I think to a certain degree, restoring the dignity of the office. Dignity and effectiveness would have been a nice combination. Two presidents in one. Unfortunately, that didn't happen on too many fronts. But if George Bush doesn't go out and campaign for Mitt Romney, doesn't by default it means that George Bush is to blame for what the Democrats are saying he's to blame for? This is the president of the United States. Very popular among Republicans, fairly popular among independents, some popularity among disenfranchised Democrats and blue dogs, but still a guy that I think would do more to enhance the campaign of Mitt Romney than to not show up. And in a certain way, say, I don't want to be a part of the blame game. Now, a lot of people that I've read talking about the issue say George Bush should stay in the wings. I completely disagree. I think George Bush is a guy that should be out there with Mitt Romney. If Newt Gingrich can campaign with Mitt Romney, George Bush should be driving that campaign bus. Newt Gingrich shouldn't even be allowed on it. But George Bush has kind of made the decision, well, you know, that was then, this is now. I'm doing my thing, and I don't want to get involved in the mess of modern-day politics. I don't want to be a distraction away from. But the Republicans like George Bush. And this is, again, back to where the Republicans are just not playing this the right way. Obama's out there pandering to every special interest group, firing up to believe they're all victims. We're not a nation of victims. The vast majority of people in this country don't live below the poverty line. The vast majority of people aren't on food stamps. The vast majority don't live in Section 8 housing. The vast majority of people do pay their mortgages. They do pay their bills. They do educate their kids. They do get involved in the day-to-day of the things that make this nation what it is. They dot the I's and they cross the T's, and they do it day in and day out. And a guy like George Bush, if he stays in the wings, it gives the Democrats yet one more excuse to say, you see, George Bush knows just how bad he was for the country, because he won't even campaign next to the guy who gave us the foundation for Obamacare, Mitt Romney.
The Jerry Doyle Show.
Come out, wherever you are, George. Don't let the elevator doors close on you and us supposedly believe that you're all fired up for the Republican nominee, presumptive Mitt Romney. Speaking of, Brian Doherty is going to join us on the program in the next hour. The Republican Party's Ron Paul problem. He's the author of Ron Paul's Revolution. Rick Newman's going to join us at the bottom of this hour. He writes for U.S. News and World Report. There seems to be not just a voter revolt out there, but a shareholder revolt where more people are tired of the games being played, not just in the hallowed halls of Congress, but in the boardrooms of corporate America. Lots to get to on the program today. Emails at the website, jerrydoyle.com. The phone number, 800-876-4123. Join me.
I don't want you to neglect the fact that Mitt's wife is going to make the greatest first lady. Next to Laura.
How about you?
How about, next to Laura.
In terms of beloved first ladies, I think you're at the top of the list.
This is the Jerry Doyle Show.